All right, let's go ahead and get started today. We've got some interesting news. I was doing a live a few days ago. I was doing a live Q&A, answering all your questions and all things Social Security, Medicare. And people typed into the chat that I just heard 6.2 million dead people are being paid by the Social Security Administration. I'm like, well, interesting. Let's talk about that today. How an internet myth starts, and as kind of dovetail with that, I'm going to talk about survivor benefits. I'm going to talk about the three steps to privatize Social Security, how to give your money, all the money you earned and paid into Social Security that is saving in that trust fund, the $2.7 trillion in that trust fund, how to give that to Wall Street in three easy steps. And hopefully, the video I did yesterday, I just did a video yesterday on that, on the new plan to privatize Social Security. So make sure you watch that. I go into detail on exactly what the proposal is. And 99.9% of the comments I received is they do not want to privatize Social Security at all. And I am on the same page. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ed Weir. I ran the third business Social Security office in the country. And now in my semi-retirement, I'm helping you all get all the benefits you earned and making sure Social Security and Medicare and everything here it's around for the long time, so we avoid these cuts that inevitably are going to happen if we don't do something. Okay, so where does this internet myth start about 6.2 million people that are receiving that are deceased that are receiving benefits? All right. So it's interesting. The video I did yesterday was the senator from Louisiana, Bill Cassidy. And then there's another senator from Louisiana, this gentleman here, John Kennedy, not the John Kennedy, obviously, but I guess he is the John Kennedy because his name is John Kennedy. But anyway, so he is talking about these 6.2 million people, but he never says that they are receiving Social Security benefits. And this is I hate to get conspiratorial here. Anytime anybody says that, they're about to be conspiratorial. But anyway, let's say a little bit of a coincidence that you got two people from Louisiana and they're talking about Social Security, but they're coming at it from different. Well, let's talk about that. Let's let him discuss this in his own words.
There is one
what he's discussing.
that is not going to be able to fight us in our quest to scrutinize federal spending, and I'm referring to dead people. The fact that they're getting
All right.
government.
So what I'm talking about is going to be ruffling feathers to the powers that be, and so I want to make sure I don't play too much of this video so they can strike me for copyright and stuff like that. So I talk over it a little bit. People are saying just let them play. No, I don't want to let it play because then Forbes or whoever's going to come after me. So I want to stay on YouTube and help y'all. Okay, so basically what he's talking about is this, new Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. Great, we love government efficiency. I mean, all the way across. Efficiency in your own home, in businesses, in government. Everybody needs efficiency. So awesome. But he says, okay, hey, there's one constituency that is not going to fight getting that money. It's dead people, because dead people are receiving these benefits. And he's right. Number one, efficiency is a beautiful thing as long as it's done right. And number two, dead people shouldn't be receiving Social Security benefits and checks. So this is what he talks about here, and let's
Fiscal year
see where it goes.
2023 alone, this is just 1 year, our government sent 1.3 billion, not 1.3 million. We sent $1.3 billion in checks to dead people. Those aren't my numbers. Those numbers come from the Office of Management and Budget. When you die in America.
Okay, so I looked up this. I tried to find he said 1.3 billion, but it says 1.4 billion there. The only thing I saw 1.3 billion was back in 2020 as part of the CARE Act. That was under the previous administration, the previous Trump administration. They gave out COVID based on your taxes from a year or 2 years prior to that. And obviously a lot of people had passed away at that time. So I couldn't find anything about that. But let's stick to Social Security, how he gets to Social Security. And now he He explains how Social Security is kind of the resource for all other agencies, the Veterans Administration, the Department of Treasury, the Small Business Administration. What happens is when you pass away, the vital records in your particular state, the funeral home or the coroner's office or whatever, they submit that to your state's vital records, and then those 50 states notify the Social Security Administration, and then the Social Security Administration takes that and they notify the Department of Treasury, because the Department of Treasury is the one that actually cuts your Social Security check, or does the direct deposit. They're the ones that do that. And Social Security, gets that information and tells the Department of Treasury, "Oh yeah, don't cut a check for this person for this month. They just passed away." Okay, so that's how it works. Obviously, it's not a perfect system, and to give Senator John Kennedy his due, he did a great thing. And he talks about that, as all politicians do. When they do something good, they talk about it, which fair enough. So he did a good thing by helping the Social Security Administration help other agencies to avoid those overpayments. So let's let him pat himself on the back, which was
Your
again
name
very justified.
is sent to the Vital Records Office in your state. And at that point, the Social Security Administration pays each state to get an ongoing list of deceased Americans in that state.
So far, so good. Okay. And this is important. Again, my first mission in my semi retirement is to help y'all get the benefits you earned. So I want to take a second to talk about that. In terms of, if you have someone, your spouse passes away, um, you don't need a death certificate. Social Security Administration does not need a death certificate because it's all automatic. And I know those death certificates are expensive. Some states charge you $50, $100 or something for a copy. So don't waste your money. Social Security automatically gets that information from the vital records in your particular state. And if your spouse passes away, then they notify the Department of Treasury, and the Department of Treasury stops that check. A lot of people forget that when they start their retirement benefits or spouse benefits or whatever, um, Social Security pays a month in arrears. So your January check comes in February. Your February check comes in March, and it comes based on your birthday. If you're born the first 10 days, you get the second Wednesday of the month. If you're born on the second 10 days of the month, you get it on the third Wednesday of the month, and so on. So you have to be alive the entire month. So if, you have to be alive, if, leap year, January 31st, you have to stay alive till the, 12 midnight, and then rolls over into the next day, the next month. So you have to be alive every single day of the month in order to be entitled to the next month's check. And if someone in your family passes away like that, then again, you can just leave the money in there in the checking account, and the Department of Treasury, once they get the notification of the passing, they go in there and they grab it out. So that system is working very well in terms of Social Security, and it's also working because the VA administrator, the Veterans Administration, and other places are also getting those death notifications because of John Kennedy. He allowed the Social Security Administration to share that information. So
There's
that
just
is a
one
great thing.
problem. I discovered this about 7 years ago. The Social Security Administration refuses to share that list with anybody else in the federal government. They won't share it with any other federal agency. The Social Security.
Okay, so he's talking about 7 years ago, and that was the fact before he got in there and he gave the Social Security Administration authorization, because the Social Security Administration, has to follow the laws. They got that information from the particular states, and they can't give it out to anybody unless they get authorization. So what he did is says, okay, I happen to know someone, I guess, that makes laws. I'm a senator, so he passed a bill, and he got it made into law that Social Security, you can now share that list with other agencies. And so good, great. But here is where the internet myth starts, where we get 2 + 2 = pumpkin.
Administration, if you ask them, will tell you that there are, according to their record, there are 6.5 million Americans living today in America who are 112 years of age or older. To my friends at Social Security, why don't you just give the death master file?
All right. So the 6.2. So he's talking about overpayments. So I think this is again, I'm I'm speculating here that he is talking about overpayments and this COVID money that went out to other people and the 2 trillion dollars over, since 2004 that's being, improper payments. And then he's on the same slide there. He includes the 6.5 million people over 112 years old on Social Security. So I think I kind of use a Louisiana, I think, by perhaps in cahoots with Bill Cassidy, the other senator who's trying to privatize Social Security, because how you privatize Social Security is one is I've got the playbook. If you look at the description, I've got the playbook of what they've been using for the last few decades. Is you destroy trust and faith in the Social Security Administration. How do you do that? You underfund them so they provide terrible customer service. They don't pick up the phone. You talk about the fact that money has been stolen, it's been given to this group or Ukraine or whatever the case may be. It's all worthless IOUs, and you build up mistrust over several decades, and fraud, waste, and abuse. And hey, we'd like to help out Social Security, but they're giving out all this money to dead people. So that makes it easier. What Senator John Kennedy here is doing is, he's not saying it directly, but he's hoping people on the internet, which they obviously did, put two to two together and come up with pumpkin with just an internet myth that 6.5 million people are receiving Social Security checks. No, that is not the fact. The fact is that yes, there are 6.5 million people over 112 years old that do not have Social Security numbers that have been officially closed out because the Social Security Administration cannot stop that particular Social Security number until they get an actual death certificate. So maybe a bunch of these people, moved overseas. That's the big thing nowadays. If these expats that move overseas, they hate this. They get a proof of life. I call it "No, I'm not dead yet" form. They get that every year. If you're living in Portugal or Panama or the Philippines or whatever the case may be, they get a letter every year that says, "Hey, are you still alive? We want to make sure that you're getting, you're not deceased. So, we're not paying you incorrectly." Because if the person was in the United States, then the vital records would do that automatically. But if you're overseas, they don't get that. So that's why they send that letter every year. So Social Security sure has, 6 million records that have not been closed out because Social Security can't. Maybe Senator Kennedy can find someone that makes laws to where they can give the Social Security Administration permission to close out those records. Because again, Social Security can't do it until they have an official notification of death from again, a coroner, a death certificate. Until then, they can't close out that Social Security number. So they're just sitting there. Senator Kennedy never said those people are receiving benefits. He never said those people are receiving benefits. They just said, yeah, there's a bunch of inactive records over 112. In my office and other offices throughout the country, what we used to do is we had this thing called the Centenarian Project, and um, whenever we had someone in our district, in our area, that reached 100 years old, we would have one of our employees go out to that person's house and give them a nice little certificate and says, congratulations, you reached 100 years old, awesome. But the problem is, the funding for that kind of died, and so we don't do that anymore. And the other purpose of that Centenarian Project was not only to, yes, congratulations on reaching 100 years old, that's awesome, but it's also to confirm that a person is actually out there alive and breathing, kicking and breathing. So there's, yes, there is fraud. Over the several decades I worked for the Social Security Administration in my district, yeah, we had one person in a 55-gallon drum in a rental storage unit that their kids were collecting their benefits. Yes, that does happen. Yes. And in terms of what he talks about, the overpayments, um, the 2.9 trillion, this is also kind of um, a kind of a distraction, a misdirection. Yes, there are improper payments. I tell people to do this all the time. I tell people to get overpaid all the time. And that would be included in that $2.9 trillion. Okay, why do I tell people to go ahead and get overpaid? When you file for early retirement, you're limited to the amount of money you can make. So this for 2025, that's $23,400. And people call me up and talk to me or in live Q&A and say, hey, I'm going to be over next year by, I don't know, maybe $1,000 or $2,000. I'm not exactly sure. And there's two ways you can address that. You can call up the Social Security Administration in January, February, March and say, hey, I'm going to be over the $23,400. I'm going to make $1,000 over. Social Security holds back $1 for every $2 you go over. Okay. And so you can call them up and they will stop your check for 1 month. And they might restart it or they might not. Or you call and you're on the phone for 3 hours and they don't pick up. And so that you can do that. You can definitely do that. Or what I tell people sometime, I say, you're only going to be $1,000, $2,000 over, and you're not 100% for sure whether you're going to be over or not. Maybe you might take some, vacation time in December or something, and you might actually be under. Let it ride. Just let it ride. So come next year, when you file your taxes, and you play with your friends at the IRS and you do all that stuff, and the IRS notifies Social Security, and Social Security looks at it and says, oh, yep, looks like this person was $1,000 over, so they owe us $500. That's an improper payment, an overpayment because he overpaid the person, but it was a conscious decision to go ahead and get overpaid. And then they just send you a nasty gram right after you file your taxes and say, hey, we paid you, you worked over $1,000, you owe us $500, pay us the check. And you just call them up and set up a, payment plan. Anderson Cooper with 60 Minutes made that whole process a lot easier. So when the information gets out there, people can, get information, so Anderson Cooper, kudos on you for doing that. So yeah, you just set up an overpayment agreement. You can do it up to 60 months, 5 years. And guess what? There's zero interest. So there's that. So yeah. So again, this is another way to help destroy Social Security. The steps to privatize Social Security are, ignore the problems. Hey, there are no problems, nothing to see here. Ignore the solutions. As I talked about yesterday, Bill Cassidy said the only solution is to just take money out of the general tax fund. No, there are dozens and dozens and dozens of solutions. I'm the kind of guy that says we need to raise the cap on FICA. And I've talked about this many times, but I'll throw it up here. You and I, probably everybody out there watching, we pay FICA tax on every dollar we make. If you make over $176,100, you don't pay FICA tax on Social Security part anymore. So we pay it 6.2%, plus our employer pays 6.2%. But for those making over $176,100, they don't pay FICA tax anymore. So I think they should raise the cap, or they completely eliminate the cap, just like they've already done it with Medicare. There is no cap for Medicare. They just need to do that with that, and that would solve 73% of the issues. But according to Senator Cassidy yesterday, there is no solution except for raising, getting bailout from taxes. But there are dozens and dozens of solutions, and I put it in the description under the actuary report. Anytime anybody has an idea of, hey, I know I've got an idea to save Social Security, the actuary pulls out their calculator, runs the numbers, and the one I just talked about, raising the cap, that will solve 73%. So you ignore the problems, you ignore the solutions, and then you distract people. You tell them the trust fund is stolen, they're given to illegals, fraud, waste, abuse. Yes, there is fraud, waste, and abuse, but that's not going to solve Social Security for the long term. The internet myth of the day is there's 6.2 million people getting Social Security benefits, which they're not. So it's the distraction. And what's interesting is, the politicians and people saying, the Social Security Trust Fund is actually not there. It's all just made up as false IOUs. It was stolen, yada, yada, yada. But now all of a sudden they have found the money and they want to give it to Wall Street. And it's like, hey, wait a second. Didn't you guys just say yesterday that it's just worthless IOUs and the money has been stolen? Now that there's no such thing as a trust fund. It's all been stolen. But today you're like, hey, we should give $1.5 trillion to Wall Street. Okay, well, how did that money, just miraculously materialize out of thin air? It's interesting. So They ignore the problems and solutions. They distract us. They make us, hey, you're liberal, you're conservative, you're this, that. They divide and conquer us. And all the while, behind the scenes, they're trying to privatize. Give it to Wall Street. We all know what Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is essentially Medicare privatized, and we want to go. They want to go to Social Security Advantage, which some of y'all might like that, but I prefer not to go there. So you can watch the entire video in the description. I put the entire video there. And it's interesting that he, at the very end of this, the reason he's on the floor talking is that there's a new, the bill that he passed that allows Social Security to share that master death file. It expires soon. So he says, we just need to make it permanent. I agree. Good job. Yes. But he says, I'm not going to do that now. I'll do it next year. Okay, why did you get up there and start talking about this? And I'm like, oh, that sounds strange. But then I thought about it for 2 seconds and oh, that's right. The other senator in Louisiana wants to go ahead and privatize. So you want to go ahead and start distrust and start this internet myth about Social Security is just terrible and they're fraud, waste, and abuse, and we might just scrap the whole thing and give it over to our buddies at Wall Street. So yeah, and I'm like, but they're smart. That's very smart. Some people fell for it, but not people that watch my channel. We are smarter than that. So yes. So that's the steps to privatize Social Security. And I would argue, particularly with the internet going out there, with these YouTube channels, we're smarter than them now. We have the information. Okay, so that's all I'm going to talk about on that. And let's go ahead and get into your questions about all things Social Security. So you can ask me anything. Let's see here. Robert, my wife and I want to move out of California to Arkansas. Will this change my SSDI amount that I receive now? No. SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, is a national program. If you were getting SSI, you would lose money because California has a state supplement for people receiving SSI. But anyway, but you're receiving SSDI, no, it won't change at all. If you are receiving Medicare, because a lot of people don't realize, once you're on Social Security Disability Insurance after 2 years, then you're eligible for Medicare, the Part A and Part B. So if you're going to be moving to Arkansas and you have Medicare, then I'm sure hopefully you have a Medicare plan to cover up the gaps of original Part A and Part B. In California, you may or may not have gotten a Medicare supplement plan. Not sure you can get one in Arkansas, but if you move to Arkansas, see if you can check out a Medicare supplement plan, a plan N and G. Those are the ones I always recommend first. Always check out Medicare supplement, plan N as in Nancy or G as in George. And then if it's not for you, then start checking out the Medicare Advantage plans. And if you need help, that's why I partnered with Chapter Medicare. They have advisors throughout the country that can help you out. So definitely they can help you out in Arkansas. Find a new plan once you move, but your benefits will stay the same. I turned 62 on April 16th. Could I start receiving Social Security in May? I'm not clear on the earliest date I can apply, December, January. I'm leaning towards starting at 62 due to uncertainty of Social Security changes in the future. Yeah, that's unfortunately, I've old Marine Corps gung ho, super too optimistic, as my wife says sometimes. But um, when to start Social Security benefits is a 100% personal decision based on whether you need the money. Are you working, your health, your longevity in your family, and I've never really added the political situation in there, but something has to be done. Oh, and okay, I'm going to get a tad, I don't know about political. I give people the benefit of the doubt. The new administration, President-elect Trump, he's coming in and he said he's not going to cut Social Security. He's not going to raise the age, the full retirement age by 1 day or 1 year. He's not going to add it. He's not going to cut into your Social Security benefits. But never said anything about not privatizing it, not giving it to Wall Street, so. And the new commissioner that he appointed is a Wall Street guy, and Bill Cassidy, Senator Cassidy, is going to submit that privatization bill to Congress as soon as they go into office. And obviously, Senator Kennedy is also kind of part of that, that phalanx. So I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I have started a clock as of today. Today is day zero, and I'm going to count how many days we can count until President-elect Trump says the words Social Security and privatization in the same sentence. Once that is said, then we know we need to do something. If we don't want to privatize, then we've got to do something quick, because as soon as he says, well, that might be a good idea to, give it over to Wall Street and get all these, extra, free ice cream and unicorns because they'll do so good and they won't take crazy commissions and they'll really treat our money. So watch the video I did yesterday on that. But so today is day zero. And hopefully there's people out there that are 100% supporting the president-elect Trump. He's the president. Let's support him, but I support him on you know policies that I support. And I'm kind of a one-trick pony. I'm all about Social Security and just, keeping Medicare. So in terms of Social Security, we need to keep it. I don't think it should be privatized, but I'm starting the clock. Hopefully he doesn't say it. Hopefully I just run out the clock for 4 years and he doesn't say it. But I've started the clock. So, all right. Sorry, I digressed. CB. So you were born April 16th. So thank you for that information, because it's important, because you have to be 62 the entire month. So the soonest you can start your benefits is in May. You have to be 62 the entire month. And the first month you're 62 the entire month is May. You'll get your first check in June. You'll get your check in the third Wednesday of June. Because you were born on the 16th. In terms of when you should start it, you go ahead and file for your benefits in February, March, or April. You can do it online. Call the 800 number, schedule a phone appointment. Either one is fine. The most important thing to do is to check your earnings record. When I took the hundreds of thousands of retirement claims I did, when we were doing them in office, we used to print off people's earnings record, push it across the desk and say, hey, check this out, make sure it's correct, because your earnings record, your high 35 years of earnings, that's how they determine how much you're going to get for the rest of your life. And spouse benefits and disability benefits and surviving spouse benefits and all the rest of it is based on your earnings record. So check your earnings record, make sure it's correct. All those years you paid into Social Security, make sure Social Security has correct records. And if they do, then you're going to get a good benefit, your correct benefit amount. So make sure, do it to it, and make sure Social Security treats you right. Oh, I signed both of your petitions. Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I've got 2 petitions up there in the chat and also in the description down below. One of them is a petition to support Social Security offices so they can, because they're low 50-year low staffing, and they are they're basically at a reservation system only now. And these are people that are supposed to be helping you get the benefits. This is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be in retirement, but Social Security unfortunately doesn't have the staff, and I've come out of retirement and started doing this. So please sign that, and to get the politicians to support your local offices, because the reason they're not supporting your local offices is they give all kinds of excuses about telework and fraud and waste and all this kind of stuff. But they don't want to support the local offices because that's part of the strategy to make you completely fed up with Social Security across the board. So you'll just say, forget it, just give it to Wall Street. Maybe they can do better. That was the intention. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. And the other one I have is to say no to privatization of Social Security, but to avoid the cuts that are coming in the future, is to raise the cap. So we paid FICA tax on all the FICA Social Security tax on all the money we make. Everybody else should pay FICA tax on all the money they should make. So thank you for signing both of those petitions. I appreciate it. There is so much disinformation out there. It sounds like the masses of dead people and non-citizens voting too. People need to wake up and educate themselves about reputable sources without slants. Yeah. It's amazing how a internet myth gets started that there's all these dead people collecting Social Security checks. There are dead people collecting Social Security checks. Yes, Social Security sends it out, sends out checks every single day to dead people. How does that happen? It used to happen in my office all the time. Your check was due on the 16th of the month. You passed away yesterday. You got your check. The system just doesn't act that fast. But by probably the 17th or 18th, when your state vital records or your coroner's office or your funeral home notifies the state notifies the Social Security notifies the Department of Treasury, which actually doesn't take that long. And then Department of Treasury goes in there, yanks out that check. So people are being paid every day that are deceased, but then it's being pulled back. So again, that's how they do it. Does Social Security pay people every day? Yes. That are deceased? Yes, but they get it back. But do people get paid Social Security benefits that are deceased that their kids have hid the body? Yes, that happens too. Does Social Security accidentally kill off people? Yes. How does that happen? I did this my Halloween special. I talked about this. We used to call it internally resurrection, but the powers that be said, Social Security said, stop calling it resurrection. Resurrection. Basically, what happens is your local funeral home, when they do the death certificate, they do a reporting, they do an electronic to your vital records in your particular state. They transpose the Social Security number. It should be 1-2, but they type in 2-1 by mistake. And so your vital records in your particular state sends that Social Security, and Social Security kills off that record. And then, so that was in Topeka, Kansas, but some person living in Bradenton, Florida, all of a sudden goes to the bank to get something. And they're like, wow, you're deceased. What? And so that's what happened. So that person, unfortunately, from where did I say, Homestead or Bradenton, Florida, wherever, they have to go to the local Social Security office with ID and all that kind of stuff to prove that they're still alive. And it's a total nightmare. And the Social Security Administration employee has to do what we call a resurrection. And we resurrect them from the dead. But so yes, it happens. Unfortunately, it happens. But and again, politicians take that and they blow it out of proportions to attack Social Security, to erode trust in it. So, but we're smarter than that, right? My wife is 62 and on SSDI and collecting $1,200 a month. I am 66. I get $3,000 a month on Social Security. Can she collect another $300 off my Social Security, or would it be reduced forever because she is only 62? Um, Anytime you collect benefits from the Social Security Administration, in almost all cases, except for like disability or sometimes survivor benefits, your benefits are going to be reduced for every month you start your benefits early. So she won't collect if her full benefit amount is 12 and yours is 3, so half of 3 is if that's your full benefit amount. They always go by your full benefit amount. So that's not your full benefit amount because you started at 66. So your full benefit amount probably 66 and 8 months or something. So yours is probably a little bit more, over 3,000. But anyway, whatever half of that is, she's entitled to up to 50%. But she's entitled to 50% when if she starts collecting that at her full retirement age. But she's 62. But hey, I would call up Social Security and and have her get that extra money. It won't be $300; it'll be reduced. So yes, absolutely. And then remember, and she's on SSDI, if she's, has Medicare, unless she's got health insurance from your work. If she has health insurance from your work and you're currently working and your employer has 20 or more employees, then she doesn't need to get Medicare Part B. Don't waste your money on the Part B, the $185. But if she does have Medicare, probably in her state, she was only able to get a Medicare Advantage plan because she's under 65. Once she turns 65, she can get a Medicare supplement plan. No health underwriting, no extra, premium cost or anything like that. So make sure you check that out. But if it's not for you, it's not for you. So, all right, let's see here. Robert, we just did that. We love it here. Low taxes, utility. Oh, okay. Somebody moved to Arkansas. All right. I went to high school in Paris, Texas, right near Texarkana. So we used to go to Arkansas all the time. Yes, let's help save Social Security. Write your 2 state senators in Washington, your rep in Washington, and let them know to raise the cap. Yes, please take and took. Yeah, that's the way to do it. We need to reach out and people say you shouldn't talk about this until it's actually done. Well, then it's already done. So as soon as someone, I always wait for, around election season because they've been, preparing the ground for this for decades. And now they've really beaten up Social Security. They killed the customer service, so you're completely fed up with Social Security. They talked about the money being stolen. It's given to these people. It's given to that people. So everybody hates Social Security Administration, and they're like ringing their thing. Yes, excellent, right? We've done our groundwork. Now it's time to put out the final blow and knock Social Security out and give it to our Wall Street buddies at the lowest bidder, or the people that pay. Yeah, so maybe Enron, and are they still looking to check our money? So let's see here. I actually heard Bernie Sanders say 6.2 million did receiving payments in the congressional hearings. That's all it was a question about. Yeah, no, again, no, it's just the records haven't been closed out because there's no official. Again, Congress just needs to say, okay, Social Security Administration, if you think these 6.2 million people over 112 years old are not actually out there, you have authority to go ahead and just close out the records. But as of right now, Social Security can't until they get the official death certificate. So but the politicians don't want to do that because they love, drumming up that conspiracy theory every few years. So that's why they're not doing it. So I think I'm 64 and on SSDI. I filed for divorced survivor benefits. I was married 15 years. I'm single. My ex is deceased, and so is his spouse. He was on SSDI at the time. I was, okay, continuing. Approved for 50%. Am I entitled to 100%? Divorce survivor benefits. You're entitled to up to 100%. You're 64. That'll be reduced because filing early. You were married 15 years. That's good. So you had to only be married if it's a divorce type situation. You only had to be married for 10 years. It doesn't matter about his spouse, ex's, spouse or new kids. That has no relevance to how much your benefit is at all. You were on SSDI to his time of death. That's not an issue as long as you are. But Beverly, good on you though, in the sense of you knew this. You knew you were entitled to survivor benefits. So Beverly is smart. Everybody on this channel is smart. That's why you're watching it, right? Anyway, so Beverly knew what a lot of people out there are missing. When you're on disability benefits, you can receive SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, and collect spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits or surviving spouse benefits. A lot of people don't know that. They think, well, I'm on disability benefits. Sure, I can collect surviving spouse benefits, but then I'll be switched out of disability and it'll be surviving spouse benefits and it'll be more money. And that's fine. But their issue is they think their Medicare will stop because they're losing disability. No, Beverly knows she is still on disability, still on SSDI. Plus, her survivor benefits are added on top. One is offsets the other. So the survivor benefits or spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits are added onto her disability benefits. And because she's on disability, her Medicare will continue. So good on you, Beverly. There's millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars out there, hundreds of millions of dollars that people are missing that really, really need because they don't know that. So please subscribe, like, share, and all that kind of stuff so this information goes out there. But no, you should receive up to 100%. Obviously, it's offset of year, so maybe that's what you're thinking of. So um, if your disability benefits are $600 and you're entitled to $1,000 from your deceased ex-spouse, then you'll continue to get your $600 plus $400 for a total of 1,000. So you won't get both. You won't get your 600 plus 1,000 for a total of 16. One offsets the other. So that's probably what you're thinking of. But yeah, if it's more money, you'll continue to get the surviving spouse benefits and your disability benefits, and your Medicare will continue. Again, once you hit 65, double check to see if a Medicare supplement plan was the best thing for you. All right. Let's see. I want to get into, got a lot of people talking about Senator Kennedy there, but let's try to help you all get your benefits. When my husband passed, Social Security made me send them his death certificate. Yeah, sometimes it really depends on the situation. Usually, you don't. Yeah, the vital records, unless there is sometimes there's an issue for the lump sum death payment. So if they, because you have to be living in the same household to get that lump sum death benefit, that terrible, stupid $255. It's been $255 for decades and decades and decades. So most of the time, you don't need your death certificate, but they might have needed it for a particular reason, or the the Social Security employee was a new employee and didn't know you didn't have to do it. So sometimes you do, but most of the times you don't. So, and it's automatic too. If you are receiving benefits on a particular person's record, your spouse or your divorced spouse, and that person passes away, you're receiving spouse benefits up to 50%. And if that person passes away and you're after your full retirement age, your benefits automatically convert to survivor benefits. So get people all the time on live Q&A. They say, yeah, I was getting divorced spouse benefits, and one day I went in there and my check doubled. What's going on with that? Is this an overpayment or not? I'm like, you didn't really keep in touch with your ex, did you? I said, no, I forget about it. I never want to, talk to that person again. Well, it's kind of too late to talk to that person because they've deceased. And you're like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, Social Security knew it, and so wherever the country or the world that person was living, that person deceased, and because you were on the record receiving benefits, then that's how your benefits doubled. Is you went from the 50% max to 100%. So we each have to hit the thumbs up button so more people can find the live stream. Yes, please. Thank you. My mom passed away in December 31st, so left her check in the bank and they did take it back. Yes, yes. That's some people think that, well, the person, December 31st, so they should go ahead and do it. But unfortunately, yeah, the law is you have to stay, the entire month. And people say, well, it's the middle of the month. Shouldn't they receive 50%? I say, no, yeah, unfortunately, it's it's a check or no. So and another one, when my parents died, their death information was sent to Social Security, so their checks were immediately stopped. Yes, so it is a system is working. And again, Senator Kennedy, good job to allow Social Security to share that master death file with the VA and other agencies, so they will stop. Hey, efficiency is a beautiful thing. We want to make sure that those benefits go to people that actually need them. All right, let's see. Doge is not an official government agency, and they aspire to cut benefits. Number one is veterans benefits. Senator Kennedy is, yep, yeah, yeah. They're not an official agency. I think they're kind of like a blue ribbon commission that makes recommendations, and the recommendations have to be finished by what, July of 2025 or something like that. So, yeah, I'm I could find a a few $1,000,000 at Social Security that could be fixed. Yeah, I've reached out to him and says, hey, if you want my 2 cents, I'd be more than happy. But I know where the real money is. Department of Defense. I'm no Marine Corps sergeant, and yeah, you want to find some real money. That's where you start. Yeah. Um, I hate to disagree, but the distrust has been building for years, not because of his speech. No, that's what I said. Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I said. That again, I've got the playbook in the description that was written decades ago. So this has been going on for decades. So they've been getting the ground prepared. Friend 72 wants to retire in 4 months, receiving Social Security and salary now. Was told that Social Security hates this, and now she's scared. Is this true? And she received more dollars when she retires. Um, she is receiving Social Security. So yeah, I was scared there that she didn't start her 72, because you should never, never, never wait till after you're 70 years old. Because what happens after your full retirement age, 66 and 8 months or 67 or whatever the case may be, if you delay your benefits, then your benefits increase 8% every year until the month you turn 70. Once you turn 70, your benefits no longer increase based on that delay. You get your COLA and all that kind of good stuff, but your benefits no longer increase. So never, never, never wait till after you're 70 years old to collect benefits. You're losing benefits. So, but yeah, if she's 72, she's already receiving benefits, so hopefully she took it, before 70. And what the Social Security hates, uh, the only thing I can think of here is that she's receiving her Social Security benefits now, and she has a salary, okay, and she probably is about Medicare. So she probably, or he or she, um, did not sign up for Medicare, did started Medicare Part A, but refused Part B at 65, which is fine, perfect, good, because had health insurance from current work and the employer had 20 more employees. And now, 72 years old, is going to go ahead and retire from that work and therefore wants to go ahead and sign up for Part B. So this person has done everything right. Perfect. Just sign up for Part B. There's a couple of forms you need. It's called a 40B as in boy and a 564. And the 564, you just type in SSA 564. It's actually a CMS, Center for Medicare, but just type in SSA 564. And you take that form down to the person's employer. And the employer says, yeah, don't penalize them. They've had health insurance from current work since they turned 65, so there's no penalty. So no problem whatsoever. And because they're new to Medicare, then they no penalty, and they can go ahead and sign up for a Medicare Advantage or Medicare Supplement, whatever, and you can reach out to Chapter there, and they can help you out. So if you sign up for Medicare Advantage, you can unsign up. Yeah, within it depends on your particular state and the particular situations. There's another. I've got Thomas from Chapter is going to join me tomorrow for the live Q&A and talk about all the different enrollment periods. We just finished the annual enrollment period from October 15th to December 7th, but there's another enrollment period, January, February, March, where if you've picked the wrong plan, you have a do-over. So he's going to talk about all that. And when you move, you can change your plan. And when you turn 65, you can change your plan. And yeah, the whole thing is just way, way too complicated. All right. I am currently Darling Disability. I want to know at what age that will change over to retirement. Okay, you're probably currently receiving disability, or you called me Darling or whatever. Okay, whichever one's fine. So yes, if you're receiving Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, once you hit your full retirement age, whatever your full retirement age, 66 and 8 months, 67, then your disability will switch to regular retirement benefits, and the check stays the same. Don't be, you'll still get the same amount. It'll still be the same day on direct deposit and all that kind of stuff. It's just that they stop taking the money out of the Social Security Disability Trust Fund and start taking out of the Social Security Retirement Trust Fund. So just a political bureaucratic thing. But the good thing for you is that because you're going to be receiving regular Social Security retirement benefits and you're past your full retirement age, you can work as much as you want. So if you're able to go back to work, you have no issues. Social Security doesn't matter how much you make or anything. And you no longer have those crazy CDRs, the continuing disability reviews. So you no longer have those. So you're completely free to do whatever you want. So it's a beautiful thing. How is my Social Security amount calculated when I apply for my benefit before my FRA and ex-spouse isn't 62? So yeah, it's based on your PIA. So your primary insurance amount is the amount at your full retirement age. It's based on your high 35 years of earnings, not your last 35 or your last three, your entire life, your high 35 years of earnings. And these are indexed for kind of an inflation. And so they take that high 35, find out what your averaged index monthly earnings is, and then runs a percentage of that. And that's how your benefits are, your PIA, your primary insurance amount is calculated. And then they take that number and they reduce it because you're going to be filing at 62 or whatever. So if yours is $1,000 at your full benefit amount, then you're looking at a reduction of about 30% or so when you file at 62. And then at 62, if your ex-spouse is receiving benefit, even if they're not receiving benefits, well, he isn't 62. He or she isn't 62. So as soon as as soon as you start your benefits, and as soon as she turns 62, you can file for benefits on that person's record. It does not matter that they haven't filed for benefits yet. That's called independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. Another thing out there that people miss. is that they think they can't file for divorced spouse benefits because that person hasn't started their benefits yet. That is 100% incorrect. You can, as long as, again, you were married to the person for 10 years. In that particular case, you had to be divorced from the person for 2 years, and then you can collect the independently entitled divorce spouse benefits. And again, that doesn't matter if they haven't filed for benefits. As long as they're 62 and you're entitled to those extra benefits, their benefits were twice years, then you can get that extra money. So, are you saying there is no waste and fraud in Social Security? Nope, not at all. There is definitely fraud, waste, and abuse in Social Security, but solving all of it and using that as a distraction and say, hey, I knew this guy that knew this guy that had a brother, a cousin, a neighbor straight down the street, and he used to get disability and he shouldn't be getting disability. I saw up on the roof one day. And so because of that, we shouldn't do anything to solve Social Security. We just give it over to Wall Street. So I'm saying that's not a reason. So yeah, do credit card companies send out credit cards to dogs and cats? Yes. So are private companies dumb? Have you seen the recent iPhone? And anyway, so there's that. It's over 600 people watching and very few thumbs up. Yes, please thumbs up, everybody. This gets out. This teaches the the 55-gallon drum club. Yes. Um, yeah, pressing thumbs up and like and all that kind of stuff or whatever, that teaches this computer algorithm that this is information, that people need and people like, and it goes out to more people. So please, I appreciate it. Um, illegal aliens and their families are illegally receiving benefits. That is also a distraction. How do I know? Because I've adjudicated hundreds of thousands of claims, retirement claims, disability claims. In order to adjudicate a claim in MCS, our new reality, you probably know this because you work for Social Security Administration, obviously, or maybe you didn't. Because in order to adjudicate a claim in MCS, the modern claim system and Social Security, you know that on the particular screen, on the lapper screen, you need, if the person is not a U.S. citizen, you need to put in the A number in the claim in order to move on to the next screen. Just like anything else, you fill out something online, it's got a little red asterisk that says you can't click submit until you fill in the date of birth or your address or whatever the case may be. Same type of thing on steroids with Social Security system. If the person is not a U.S. citizen, you have to put in their A number, and that you also have to do in quite a few cases, you have to do a save verification where the Social Security Administration reach out to immigration and says, hey, is this a valid green card? Is this person still in the country legally? And until you do that, you can't move on to the next screen and you can't adjudicate the claim. So the whole thing about illegals receiving Social Security retirement disability benefits is just another distraction, and we keep falling for it. But we're smarter than that, aren't we? So and remember, people working in this country illegally getting illegal fake Social Security numbers, which you can go down to your local swap meet and get a fake Social Security card, and they go to an employer, and the employer is supposed to check to see if that's a correct Social Security number, but they don't because they want the employee, and they want to pay the employee, way below, minimum wage and stuff. So they don't look. And that person, files taxes and everything and pays into Social Security. So in terms of Social Security alone, the last report, people that were not authorized to actually work in the United States, not actually, in the country legally, pay $37 billion into Social Security. That goes into the trust fund that were used because they will never get it because they're not in the country legally unless, something happens and they change their status and become, U.S. citizens or become legal people. So, all right. So yeah, again, that's another distraction, that we need to stop, and we need to have a serious discussion. And until they stop tricking us and we have these non-serious discussions, and that's exactly what they like. And they'll laugh all the way to the bank. The people that want to reduce benefits have big savings and investments, not the average person. This will be so sad. Yes, I agree 100%. It's like raising the retirement age. The people that want to raise the retirement age have nice, easy, cushy desk jobs, like I guess like I have right now. But my father, a long distance truck driver, my mother who worked at a breakfast diner, they can't wait till 68, 69, 70 years old to retire. Yeah, it's no. Let's see. The real fraud is those income far exceeds the cap. Raise the FICA cap, please. Yes, That's what I agree to. Again, that'll solve 73%. Another trick is the politicians say, well, that won't solve everything. That's not going to solve 100% of the problem. And, Ed's not going to get his hairline back. So if those two things don't happen, then there's no use in talking about it. They make the perfect the enemy of the good. Um, it By raising a cap like that, you can read it in the actuary report. It helps. It solves 73% of the problem. So it adds decades on to the Social Security Trust Fund, and no more cuts for decades. And then you just have to do a few more tweaks to come up with the other 17%, right? 27% or whatever, 23%, whatever. Um, Fraud, waste, and abuse that needs to be addressed. Yes, absolutely. So, and Social Security and Medicare particularly need your help on that. Medicare, and so this is I did a video on this about a week or so ago, that Medicare fraud is good. um, what? Because there's two ways um, to do kind of the Medicare system. You've got the way original Medicare does it, and if you have a Medicare supplement, you have original Medicare. And then there's the way the Medicare Advantage plans do it. Medicare Advantage plans, if your doctor says, hey, you need this operation, you need this procedure, they have to reach out to the insurance company and get permission. Hey, can I do this? And the insurance company says yes or no, or whatever the case may be, or the artificial intelligence says yes or no. So you have to get prior authorization, and that's how they, you know, stop fraud, waste, and abuse, I guess, and whatever. But Medicare just doesn't do that. They don't have the middleman giving prior authorizations. If your doctor says you need it, then that's it. You're done. I mean, it's within limits. I can't go get a hair transplant, um, but if it's medically necessary, it's something Medicare covers. Then they don't second guess the doctor. Your doctor just does it. And then how they stop fraud, waste, and abuse is y'all drop the dime. So if you see anybody on Social Security not getting benefits, or getting benefits they're not supposed to, or anything like that, or people working under a fake Social Security card under their deceased brother that's illegal, or yeah, drop the dime. Call OIG, the Office of the Inspector General at Social Security. You can go online. I've even in the description down below, I have the Medicare hotline. I should include the Social Security OIG, but it's basically you can call I think they work together in some respects. Um, so yes, that's how we save Social Security, and that's also how we save Medicare. Is if we see something, we say something. So, but that's not going to solve. That'll solve 2 or 3 or 4% of the problem. We need bigger solutions than that. So, and again, raise the cap. Yep. Let me see. Strange that this is being mentioned now. There is a process that one has to undergo, which includes going to the office if it is true and inside. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what. There was 500 billion as overpayments last year. That number was released. Yeah, about 500 billion of overpayments in 1 year. Considering, yeah, they said what 2.7 trillion since 2003 or something like that. So I'm not sure where that number, because Social Security only sends out $1 trillion every year to payments to people who are receiving benefits. So half of that was fraudulent overpayments. Yeah, I think that's incorrect. Again, start of another internet myth here, possibly. Let's see here. I think we found the Russian bot in here. The Department of Defense has a 40% audit passing rate. Go bother them. That's where the big money is. Yes, I saw so much more waste when I was in the Marine Corps than I did when I was in Social Security Administration. Yes, so it's amazing, especially at the Baba Black Sheep VMA 214. Well, not necessarily the Baba Black Sheep, but the Wake Island Avengers, the 3rd Marine Wing in El Toro. It's amazing how much they pay for stuff. Yeah. How can we get you to talk about this in front of the Senate discussion on Social Security? Yeah, I've tell them to give me a call. So if Social Security is bankrupt, as Republicans say, why do they want to privatize it? Exactly. Yeah, one day they say it's all empty, it's all fake, it's all, was it Fugazi or whatever? And then the next day, oh, wait, we found it. It's actually real. And our buddies at Wall Street want it. All right. If I am able to can cancel the Medicare, Yeah, for you can't cancel Part A if you're currently receiving benefits. You definitely can cancel Part B. The one you're paying $185 for. Um, but remember, if you don't sign up for Part B when you're supposed to, then you're going to pay a penalty for the rest of your life. 10% for every 12 months you didn't have it. So I would, when you cancel Part B, when you go into Social Security to cancel it, they give you this form. What's it called? A 1763 or something. But um, yeah, it gives it a big, long statement that you understand the repercussions of actually, canceling it. So, I've got a lot of questions, and we are running out of time. Oh, Noi Q, thank you so much for the, support. I really do appreciate it. That'll get my coffee IV for the day. Tons of questions. We're out of time. Let me see here. Beverly, let me get a couple of people I don't recognize. I will turn 65 in 2025. I'm on SSDI and Medicare now. I have an Advantage plan now. Will I still fall under the new Medicare deadline, the 3 months before or after my birthday? Um, no, that's for signing up for Part B, and because you have a Medicare Advantage, you already have Part B, so that particular deadline is not an issue for you. Yours is the if you want to switch to a Medicare supplement plan, you have 6 months after you turn 65 to get that. Um, but let's see here. So when it turns 65 in 2025, it doesn't say when. But the plans for 2025 are already out. So if reach out to your Medicare insurance agent or broker, whoever, or you can reach out to Chapter, and they can find out what's available in your area and when you should go ahead and switch and check to see if a Medicare supplement is right for you. I definitely recommend the Medicare supplements, but they're not right for everybody because they do have a monthly premium. So, but Medicare Advantage is a pay as you go. Even they entice you with that zero premium. But thank you, Semper Fi, hoorah, Semper Fi. All right, and unfortunately, I'm out of time, but I will be back again tomorrow. And I think tomorrow's topic well, we're going to talk about Medicare tomorrow with Thomas. And so I'll do a super. We might just do Q&A the entire time. I might just talk about the topic of the day for a few minutes, and then the next day I'll just do a straight Q&A. So if you have questions, please come on back.